welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk to Natasha Daniels. She's an OCD therapist for children, and she's here to give us knowledge, a lot of knowledge on how we can help our children with their own anxiety.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here.
Okay, so let's go right to the topic. And please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. How can we help our children with anxiety when they have anxiety? How can we help them?
I think the key is to help them help themselves. I think a lot of times we think as moms, we have to do it, and we get a little overzealous. And the really important part is, how do we help them help themselves? How do we help them explain themselves? How do we help them identify what is anxiety? That's where I would start.
That's awesome. What about, we're talking about little toddlers? How can we help them express themselves if they're still building their vocabulary?
Yeah, and even more important for the little people, because toddlers are an anxious species because they have to be. Everything's new to them, and so they're going to have some anxiety. And whether they're an anxious kid or they're just a toddler, they're going to have some feelings of overwhelm. And a lot of times we don't want to talk for them. We don't want to assume how they're feeling, but we miss opportunities to help them build an emotional vocabulary. So if my toddler was freaking out because they had the red cup and they really wanted the green cup, and this is life-altering, very upsetting, I would say, and this is how I would build their emotional vocabulary, like, you're very upset. It seems kind of obvious, but I would say, you're very upset. You want the green cup. And then it's funny, when you do this with toddlers, a lot of times they stop. They stop crying, and they're kind of like, yeah, that's right. I want my green cup. But you're using those words, upset, this is scary, this is frustrating. You can use those words with toddlers early on and label it for them. I think a big part of those meltdowns and biting and scratching is like the inability, one, to communicate, and two, to think that anyone else understands you.
Tell me, like, practical things that moms can do right now, today, to help children help themselves when they feel anxious.
It's important to recognize that with toddlers, like developmentally, your goal is different with each kid and each age. So with toddlers, like, your only goal is to build emotional vocabulary and some self-regulation, but not a lot, just a sprinkle of self-regulation and a lot of emotional vocabulary, which is a fancy way of saying help them understand themselves with words. And then if they're scared or anxious, we want to label that too. I know the toilet is really scary. That noise was really scary. I saw your eyes get really big when I flushed the toilet. Was that loud for you? Yes, right? Okay, so you're helping them connect the dots because they're little. They're not going to know, like, that feeling that I just had in my stomach. That was called anxiety. The second point I would say is, a lot of times we move in and we kind of rescue them. So maybe we pick them up, or maybe we always flush the toilet, or maybe whatever it is that they're afraid of. A lot of times when they're toddlers, it's very easy for us to want to be a good parent and not want to see them distressed, and so we do it for them.
Daddy's in the kitchen. Let's go. Daddy.
Yes. Okay.
Miguel is waiting for you.
And I would say, as an anxiety therapist, and even as just a mom, you want to encourage your children to start to do it. So it doesn't mean you don't support them and you throw them in the deep end and you hope that they can swim. It's taking little baby steps. So if I know that they're afraid of flushing the toilet, let's just use that as an example, because that's a kind of a common toddler problem. Then I might validate it, like, I know that was scary for you, I could tell. And then maybe the next time I might say, I'm going to flush it, but you're going to stay in here. You can hold your ears. And then maybe the next time I'd say, how about you flush it? You can hold your ears with one hand and then you can flush it, or I'll hold your ears. You can get creative. And then maybe the next time, they can do it independently.
Actually, some years ago, I had a child in foster care with me. Then he was scared of the toilet, of going to the bathroom. He has some trauma there, but we work with little steps at a time.
Yeah.
So when he came to me, he was soiling his pants. See, he was going in his pants. But we started moving a little bit. Okay, you can go to the bathroom, but leave the door open.
Yeah.
And then the next step was, you can go to the bathroom, close the door, but I'm gonna be right there talking to you while you do your business.
Yeah.
The next step could be, okay, you can go to the bathroom, and then at the end, after he was here for some years, at the end he was going to the bathroom normally and closing the door and doing his thing, and everything was on little increments at the time. So that really that makes a lot of sense to me. What about with older children, 10 years old, 11 years old?
It's similar to toddlers, just on a big kid level. With anyone, even with little kids, I would say in general, you want to find out, and I talk a lot about this on my podcast, but you want to find out the core fear. So I can have a child we'll go back to the toilet, because you can have a 10-year-old who's afraid of the toilet. That's actually one of those things that can stick around depending on their age. I'd want to know what they're afraid of. A lot of times we assume, if they're having a hard time going to bed, we might just be like, well, yeah, they're afraid of bedtime. It's dark, whatever. But we never ask them, what's the worst part about going to bed? It could be something different. What's the worst part about going on the toilet? You're going to get 5 million different answers.
Could be something that we never expected to hear. Okay, Natasha, thank you so much for being here in my channel. Let's recap. What is the main points of today's interview?
So I would say the main thing is to recognize your child's fear. Don't discount it, right? It's their fear. You want to build their emotional vocabulary, so label it for them. Even older kids, you can label it for them. Some kids don't have a good emotional vocabulary. And then you want to figure out what the core fear is. Don't assume, because sometimes you might be really surprised by what the actual core fear is. And then instead of accommodating and making it better for them, you want to slowly move them through the fear so that they can get to the other side. Those are lifelong skills, and you can teach it starting at 2.
Thank you so much for coming to my channel. Mom, remember, you got this. You are able to raise happy, confident children every week. I'm here, empowering you with tools, with parenting tools, sharing my experiences as a mom, as a foster mom, as a therapeutic provider. So I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if somebody wants to go and check you out, where can they find you, Natasha?
The best place to find me is just my website at atparentingsurvival.com. My YouTube channel is Anxious Toddlers. You can probably look for Ask the Child Therapist, and you will find it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my... No, I don't do the intro like that. Sorry.
Okay.
I say hello, moms.